All right, so you're just starting out wood turning and you want to try making a bowl. Keep watching. We'll cover what you need to know so you can select the best lathe speed to get good results on your wood turning. So keep watching. Ray Ruthin here. So new woodworker, new wood turner especially, and you're trying your hand at bowls, and maybe you're having a hard time figuring out what the right speed of your lathe is, because you'll find out that lathe speed is about more than just safety. So let's talk real briefly about speed and what speed means to your cutting. Wood, as you know, is a fibrous material, and the fibers you can see here a lot like these straws, hollow inside, tubular around them. And where speed comes into play is as a cutting tool impacts the fibers. If it's too slow, it actually starts to deform and push the fibers over before they tear. You'll get a ragged edge to the fibers, and you know that in your bowl turning as tear out, you get this rough surface. As the speed increases, eventually the tool will shear clean, and they will actually cut before they have the opportunity to deform and move over. So that's the reason you need the higher speed. Hey, and if you like what you see today, make sure you hit the thumb, smash that thumb to let us know that the content we bring you is of value, that you enjoy it. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. That way you're notified each week of all the content we bring you to help improve your woodworking knowledge so you can enjoy your time in the shop more. Now, how do you figure out what the safest speed is? There's three factors that you need to take into account that are going to help you determine what the speed is. One is size, right? That's very important because of the forces that the project undergoes. The second is the attachment method, and the third is the imbalance. So let's talk about those. So the first, size. Yes, this is one thing in life where size matters, right? So you can see a block that we have mounted here in the lathe, and that has a certain amount of force when it's spinning around. Now the thing about size is, as the diameter grows, every time your diameter doubles, the speed is squared. So if you have 5 pounds of force, called centrifugal force, when you're spinning a 3-inch turning, and you go up to a 6-inch turning, you now have 25 pounds of force. So the force goes up quickly. It's always combating the attachment method, which is the second key factor that you'll need to know. Attachment method. One thing that I always advocate is selecting the best, most rigid attachment method. The stronger you attach this here, the more force it will be able to withstand. Now, you're going to use a variety of methods to attach to your lathe. If you're doing a spindle, you're going to use a standard spur and live center on the headstock and tailstock, and you're always held in between centers. And that's a pretty secure, rigid method. And that way you'll be able to make use of your higher speeds that way, because you have employed the tailstock. Tailstock is very important. Get in the habit, even with bowls, whenever you can, using that tailstock. That tailstock will provide so much extra stability. If when it's spinning like this, and we're going to spin this in a minute, and it'll be a lot of fun. You'll see how much this thing shakes. Now, there's a lot of things you can do to help reduce the vibration. Sawing this round on your bandsaw, and it will shake a lot less. And that's the key, because remember, whatever this is undergoing for imbalance as it speeds, as it gets bigger, the force is increasing. And the next thing is the imbalance, right? Now that imbalance is going to impart on the attachment method that we talked about, which is why it's very critical that you use a secure rigid attachment method. When it looks like this, I highly recommend using a surface plate. You can see one here, a small one. This is a 3-inch. And these are great. They provide so much more rigidity in mounting on the lathe. Which, by the way, if you look up at the link up above, you'll see the video that we did on making a bowl using, it's called lost waste block, and that's what I call that. Now, a lot of wood turners use these. You drill a hole down the center of the wood, this screws right on it, ready to go. Simple, fast, you can get turning in no time. Problem is, when you see this thing shake, that wobble is doing this. Enlarge the opening, the threads that this cuts in the wood become deformed, and you have what I like to call an event. An event is any type of excitement that happens here that you weren't planning on. When this comes off, spins free, comes apart in pieces, these are all events. Very exciting, usually not good, and it can be very dangerous. Okay, let's see this thing turn. Nice and slow. I think we're at 150 RPM. Okay, so there you have it. It shakes like crazy. If you take a look at the chart that we have on the screen, you'll see that this size bowl, you want to be turning it to finish the bowl at 1,000 RPM. Clearly this bowl is not ready to make it up to 1,000 RPM. Now, in the event that there's something unique or special about the wood, the integrity of the wood is questionable, so you don't get to turn this up to maximum speed. Recognize that you need to adjust your speed so that way you can get clean, safe cuts as you go. One thing I'm going to recommend you do, bring your tailstock into play. That's going to stabilize this tremendously. And if you should have an event, this thing will start to wiggle. You'll get more warning. It will limit the trajectory of the piece, so that way you can be off to this side or off to this side, which will help minimize any hazards. If you do have to use an attachment method that isn't as rigid as a faceplate, you deduct speed. Now, as a rule, just to help you out, I generally use my mounting configuration. I like it to be approximately 1/3 of the bowl size. And to do that, I have a number of different faceplates. I have a 3-inch, a 4-inch, a 6-inch, and then bring in your tailstock. That way you get to make the most out of your speed. So how do you know if your speed is too fast as you're roughing? One guideline I use, and this is strictly as with all these recommendations, are my recommendations, take them for what they're worth, is you take your tool on your tool rest, and as your lathe is spinning, if you can't hold the tool steady and feed nice and evenly, then it's going too fast. So that's the first guideline. And the next important guideline is, if it's just too scary, it's shaking the machine, it sounds like it's a helicopter turning, getting ready to take off, and you're not comfortable, slow it down. There's no race. You can always turn it up later. Okay, so let's wrap this up. If you look down the chart that we saw before, you'll see that there's recommended ranges for finishing, min and the max range, and in roughing, So start with the chart that you see down below, and if the wood is good sound, kiln dried, and it's you go to your bandsaw and you make it basically round. Use your min speed and start there, right? And then go from there. If it's really rough, like you saw here, back down to the roughing speed, and if it's really shaking a lot, cut that in half. If there's anything funky about the wood, if it's punky, or if you don't know if there's flaws in it, wormholes, cracks, whatever, cut the speed in half. Trust me, if it doesn't break apart and you start to turn it and it seems stable, take it up some, 25%, and then keep going as you get closer to that desired speed range, somewhere between the min and the max, so you get nice clean cuts. So if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the thumb. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below and hit the bell. That way you get notified each week of all the content that we bring you. And if you look down below in the comments, you'll see the affiliate links for the materials, face plates and what have you, that I used in the project today. As I said, these are affiliate links, and they make a small contribution to the channel. That way we can continue to bring you the content each week. So thanks for joining it today. Really means the world to me, and we'll see you again soon.